Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the BSA Bantam 350 out for a review ride, and if you're interested in BSAs, please do check out my playlist on test and reviews where you'll find the BSA Scrambler 650 which I've recently completed. Also in there are numerous other bikes, but there is a direct competitor of the Bantam 350 which is the Honda GB350S. So it would be appreciated if you take the time to check them out. Today I'll put the bike through the usual tests and trials and see how it performs and what I like and what I do not like about the bike. So if you'd like to come along with me, jump on the pillion seat and I'll take you all for a ride. The engine is a 334cc single with 29 brake horsepower at 7,750 RPM and 29.62 Newton meters of torque at 6,000 RPM. The gearbox is a 6-speed manual with a cable operated clutch. The exhaust is a single-sided system. For the front suspension, we have a hydraulic telescopic fork with 135mm of travel. For the rear suspension, we have a twin shock setup with 5-step adjustability and 100mm of travel. For the front brakes, we have a twin pot Vibra caliper, a 320mm disc and ABS. For the rear brakes, we have a single pot Vibra caliper with a 240mm disc and ABS. The front wheel is an 18-inch black cast aluminium and it is running the MRF 100/90/18 tyres. The rear wheel is a 17-inch black cast aluminium and again running the MRF 150/70/17 tyres. On the left hand side we have the flasher, the horn and the indicators and the select buttons. Over on the right hand side we have the start, the hazards and the kill switch. The dash is very basic but gives you all the information which you do need, your speed, your rev counter, the time, gear indicator, your neutral light. The front headlight and the front indicators are both LED. The rear lights and the rear indicators are also LED. The fuel tank capacity is 13 litres. The seat height is 800mm. The bike weighs in at 185 kgs and has a steel tubular frame. This is the red colour scheme. You can also get blue, black, grey and yellow. Here is a quick demonstration on how easy it is to manoeuvre the BSA Bantam on and off the stand. At 185 kgs, this bike is certainly easy to live with. Right, okay, it's time to give the BSA Bantam 350 the acceleration test up to the national speed limit. So let's see how this one performs. Go. There it is. Let's try the brakes at the same time. Yeah, them brakes are absolutely fine. Enough stopping power for this bike, without doubt. The acceleration, well, as expected for a 350, comparable to other things which I've ridden. So, you know, for around town, as I like to say, it's absolutely fine. Riding this bike kind of gives you that feeling of going back in time to when things were at a slower pace and life wasn't so hectic. So for me, that's a real good feeling to have on a bike. So this is a good test now for the BSA Bantam 350. We're in a big queue of traffic. I just wanted to feel what the bike performs like in slow moving traffic, and I'm currently doing about 4 mile an hour just crawling along here, just using the back brake and the clutch just to feather in and out the power. But the bike feels really planted, stable, don't feel like I'm excessively wobbling around. So far, I think slow speed manoeuvres on this bike are actually really good. So I've had a good fly around the countryside for a bit of fun on the BSA Bantam 350, but I think that this bike's natural environment is more likely to be towns and the suburbs. So I'm going to head in that direction now and give the bike a test out on some more urban roads and in the urban environment and see how it copes with that. So let's give the BSA Bantam the motorway test then. I'm not expecting it to get to 70 quickly, but let's see how it performs. We're doing 30 miles an hour now to join the motorway. We'll accelerate up and see how we get on. Well, actually, I'm quite surprised. In fact, I'm very surprised. That has just absolutely flew past some cars. This bike has got a lot to give. And believe me, when I say it is far, far superior to the Honda GB350S, because on motorways and on dual carriageways, this bike leaves the Honda in its wake. I'm really, really surprised at how good this is on the motorway and how good it pulls from 40 up to 70 mile an hour. I would say it was pretty effortless for the BSA Bantam, and that is a very nice surprise. And I also think it kind of opens another window up now, where I was naturally thinking this is just a round town bike. I'm not saying you're going to do huge motorcycle journeys on the motorway, but this definitely opens up that door to being able to give a short blast down the motorway to get to some fun A roads. So, without doubt, the BSA Bantam passes the motorway test in my opinion. So I've got to say that the more I've ridden the BSA Bantam, the more I've enjoyed this bike. And not only is it an ideal and a perfect bike for around town and commuting, after doing the motorway test, that has really, in my eyes, opened the door to this bike being a potential bike which you can have as your only machine, because the power on the motorway was quite unbelievable, if I'm being completely open with you. I was so surprised at how fast this bike accelerated in that mid-range, and it just dispatched of the vehicles with ease. And for me, that then opens doors which I didn't think were open previously to this bike, and that would be for mooching off for a mini tour. I'm not saying you want to go on the motorways for 3 or 4 hours, but you could easily blast down the motorway for an hour to get to a destination, or jump off onto the A roads, and it would do it with ease. So this bike is definitely growing on me the more and more I ride it. So I would say, if you've got an interest in this bike, definitely jump out, get a test ride on one, and really see what it can do, because it may surprise you. This here for me is where the BSA Bantam 350 steps into its natural environment. Just filter past all the traffic, no headaches, no worry, a nice leisurely ride, and back home in a quicker amount of time as well. So a win-win for me. So then, the BSA Bantam 350. Well, when this bike first arrived, I really didn't have any expectations, if I'm being completely honest. I just thought it's another low cc powered bike in an already overcrowded market. And anybody who knows me knows that low cc powered bikes are just not really my cup of tea, or something which really interests me. Again, that's not me saying you need a 1000cc bike to have fun or enjoy motorcycling. It's just my personal preference, and everybody is different. So one thing I would like to say about the BSA Bantam is it is certainly a talking point and an attention grabbing bike. I was at the traffic lights the other day, and one guy was crossing the road and purposely zigzagged over to me to say that is a very, very nice looking machine. The next time I was in a coffee shop, I've just sat down, and a motorcycle instructor came in with his student and purposely came over to me to have a discussion about the BSA, and was very keen to know all the details about them and how they rode. Also, with the 350 to 450cc market being the most buoyant in the motorcycle industry at the moment, it would be foolish of me not to give these bikes a try out and test them out and see what they are actually like, even if they're not my cup of tea. Also, I like to give a broad spectrum of motorcycles to test to the viewers for the channel. So for my wrap up on the BSA Bantam, I'd like to do it a little bit different to usual. I'm going to give 3 pros and 3 cons to the bike. And first up is the comfort. Now, this bike is extremely comfortable. The handlebar positions slightly swept back, give a nice bend into the elbow, and really does promote a relaxed riding position. The foot pegs also, again, they promote a nice relaxed upright riding position with a good visibility down the road. But the crowning glory on this bike is the seat. Now, this probably has to be the most comfortable seat which I've sat on any bike in the last 10 years, by far, by a significant amount. You sit on it and you just absolutely sink right into it, and it helps soak up any of those bumps on the road as well. For me, I do not know why seats cannot be like this on bikes, because this one really does hark back to how they used to be on the 50s and the 60s, the shape of it, the style of it, the comfort levels of it. I really feel like I could sit on this bike for many, many hours and I wouldn't feel like I needed to jump off it or needed a rest. I felt like the BSA Scrambler 650, I really thought they nailed it with the seat on that bike. But when I jumped off that onto this, it was such a surprise that the level had gone up again. Now, I'm not saying the covering of the seat is absolutely premium, but the comfort level certainly is. And I would definitely give this a 9 out of 10 for comfort. So next up is the price. Now, this bike is offered at an introductory rate of £3,499. And for me, in this current economic climate, that really does offer great value for money. And I do think this bike would appeal to younger riders. It offers a cheap form of motorcycling, a great looking bike. Also, it will work really, really well as a commuter, so cutting through the traffic on the way to work throughout the week. And then at the weekend, you can jump on it and shoot out with your friends and go and have a lot of fun, because this bike is definitely capable of doing both of those things. So the next pro for the BSA Bantam is handling. And this bike definitely exceeded my expectations here. At slow speed in traffic or trying to maneuver the bike, this felt really, really easy to control, really well balanced, and you could really turn it on a sixpence. It was quite surprising how well this bike does handle. The BSA Bantam has to be one of the easiest bikes I've ridden at slow speed. Even in tight spaces, it feels planted and just naturally wants to turn. Making U-turns, that kind of thing, is just an absolute breeze and an absolute pleasure on this bike. It is effortless, is probably the best way of describing it. So that in turn makes the natural environment for this bike to be the city, suburban, urban areas, because that is where it's naturally suited and will perform at its best. In and out of the traffic, spinning round in the road, you can just do this so easily on this bike, and it would make commuting probably a pleasure. Maybe too much of a strong word, but I would say it would definitely make it a lot easier. So then, for the cons of the bike, and first up is the switch gear here on the left hand side. Now, this was the same on the BSA Scrambler 650. Apart from scrolling through, I think it's trip A to trip B, I can't figure out what this selection of buttons here does. It doesn't seem to do anything or operate anything that I can see anyway. And for me, I just think rather than having the confusion or people complaining that they don't do anything, I would do away with those and just have it blank. I think it would probably look better anyway, especially if they don't do anything. So that's my number one con for the BSA Bantam. So my second con for the BSA Bantam 350 is the colour choice. Now, there is actually quite a lot of colours to choose from, so I can't complain on that aspect. But one thing which I do not like, and it's not specific to BSA, other manufacturers do it as well, is the split colour on the tank there. It really doesn't appeal to me at all, and I would just like to see a solid tank colour which you can pick from. So either a solid red one or a solid grey one would appeal to me far more. The only one I've seen on the BSA site is the black version, but then you have to have the Union Jack flag which is behind the badge, and that doesn't appeal to me either. So personally, I would just like to see a couple of choices come in there so you can just have a solid colour bike. Also, the checkered flag design there, that's something which never appeals to me, whether it's on bikes or on helmets. It's just something which I don't like. And again, I'll just personally prefer to see that off the bike. I don't think it adds anything to it. In fact, I think it detracts. So then, my third and final con for the BSA Bantam 350 is no USB sockets. Now, the BSA Scrambler 650 got this so right, and BSA got it so right. Up here near the handlebar, near the mirror, there was a box which had a socket for a USB-A and a USB-C outlet. And I feel that this bike is naturally going to be aimed at younger people and an urban environment. And I feel that it would kind of be foolish not to have one of these on the bike, because younger people or a faster paced environment in and around the city would really warrant having these sockets on there. So I feel if BSA could maybe offer this as an optional extra or even retrofit it to the bikes, going forward, I think that would be a great improvement to this bike. So if there's any BSA Bantam 350 owners out there, it would be great to hear what your experiences are with these bikes. Are there any quirks which kick in? Is there anything which you found which you don't like after a while of ownership? What do they like to live with on a day-to-day and a year-round basis? Also, I would give this bike a solid 7 out of 10. And I feel with a couple of changes, it definitely could be an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I really do rate this bike and feel it is a great urban warrior is probably the best way to describe it. Also, please do check out the other review videos in my test and review playlist on the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please like, hype, comment and subscribe below. Remember to keep it shiny side up, and I'll see you all in the next one.